Hi, Year 3. We have got chapter 25 to read today, A Grave Child. There was silence for what seemed like a squazillion years. I could see Oculus was enjoying the bewildered expression on our faces. He laughed spitefully at us as Gingerblum swooped down and landed on his arm, and the long strand of thread dangling from either side of his beak. I don't understand. It was Dad who finally spoke, still wrestling with the clutching vines. Why have I never heard of you? And why do you still look like a boy? Oculus glanced over at a smirking Grumblad and rolled his eyes. I think the halfling is asking for a bedtime story, he snickered. Oh, lummy, Groblus said. Tell it to me then. Tell it to them then, just like you told me. Don't miss out any of the disgusting parts. I promise, Oculus leered. He waved his hand and tied a knot of vines creaked up through the snow, forming a small throne. Then he sat down like some tiny ruler about to speak to his kingdom and began. I bet you think you know all about dear old Abram Bannister, don't you? Of course, said Dad. He was a world-famous explorer, I said. Wrong, Oculus barked at me. Abram Bannister was an assistant to my mother, Olympia. She was the greatest explorer who ever lived. Fighting her way across deserts and through the deepest, darkest jungles, she discovered some of the most precious treasures and strange species of animals known to man. All Abram Bannister did was carry her suitcases. That's a lie, Dad yelled, struggling to free himself. I'm afraid it's not, said Oculus. He was a shivering coward. A gruntled little gronker, Grumblad cooed with delight. He and my mother were in love and they travelled the world. Mum doing all the dangerous adventuring and Abram making cups of tea. Oculus' face twisted in a grimace at the sound of Abe's name. Eventually, I was born for a little while were a little happy family. It wasn't until one terrible night when I was 8 years old that Abram showed just how lively he was. What do you mean? I asked. We're in India, searching for a long lost shrine, when we accidentally disturbed a grave's bathing in the river Ganges under the light of the full moon. The grotesque fairy was furious. She laid a dire spell on us three and there. Mother was turned into a bloated toad and fell into the rushing water, and she was never seen again. I, on the other hand, was cursed with the grave's kiss. That doesn't sound so bad, Mum began. When a death fairy blows its kiss at a human, they are doomed to walk the earth forever and ever. Ah, said Mum, that's not so good. My heart pumped dust around my veins, and I'd been stuck like this for over 100 years, neither living nor dead, always cold and miserable, incapable of sleep. And we don't stay fresh, you know, Oculus trapped his eye patch. Bits fall off. Right, Dad suddenly chirped up before the strange boy could say anything else. Thank you for the fascinating story, Oculus. It's been really lovely. Now, if you could just make these vines go away, I'm sure we could sit down, have a nice pot of tea to discuss this like, I'm not finished, Oculus bellowed in Dad's face. He took a deep breath and quietly continued. The only person who managed to escape being cursed by the Graves ghost was, you guessed, it was Abram Bannister. He ran away for the second he saw that dreadful creature rising out the river. He abandoned us, scampering back to England and claiming all my mother's wonderful discoveries as his own. I felt sick listening to my great-great-uncle's story. It was heartbreaking. How could Grandad Abe have done something so awful? I discovered Abe had come to live in Brighton because some old newspaper report I found years ago boasting about his adventures. I was too late, however. By the time I knew he was there, Daddy Dearest had already married a revolting magical and vanished behind the invisibility spell. I spent the past century searching for this freakish hotel, but even my new powers couldn't help me. I was still human after all. Then how did you get here? Mum asked angrily. Why now? My stroke of luck came when an angry little goblin ghost sensed my nearby presence. That's me, Groenblow interrupted, giving a little wave. With Prince Glober's help and the added bonus of magical blizzard pointing the way, I finally found you. Oculus stood up, calmly straightening out the creases in his shirt. And now I'm going to expose the hotel to the human world. We'll have to find out if he manages or how we manage to stop him at another point. Bye, guys.